Hey guys, it's Morgan coming to you with a, I guess, box opening slash look at, I don't know what to call it, but we're going to look at the new part. I'm really excited. My buddy Foxy Bibbs just ordered the new Lectron Billetron for his 19 Husky 300 TX300. He's had Electron in the past. I've had Electrons in the past. There are always a few little things I didn't love about them. They've come out with the new Billetron, and I think it's going to be a pretty good upgrade. So let's take a look at it. Here we go. There. Okay, I'm just kidding. That's off an XR650. Let me go grab the box. Boom! There we go. 38mm Lectron Billetron adjustable carburetor. So let's see how she shows up. There we go. So first off, it still looks like Electron. Like obviously some obvious first noticing differences. It's all billet now. It's been you know, cast and then machined. So that's what billet is. It was a, well, I guess it wasn't cast. It was, well, I'm sure at some point it was cast into a billet, which is a solid chunk of aluminum, and then they machine it into shape. Instead of the other style had a cast body and then an insert basically that was the Venturi. That created leaks and things like that. Also, they've gasketed the halves of it now to help, and they've got dowel pins in there. That's to help it line up. There were some problems. I actually had a couple problems with them that would leak at those things. You couldn't ever figure it out. It was really frustrating. I mean, super frustrating because like every other option for it just wouldn't leak. Anyway, it was a nightmare. Fixed that. I'm excited about that. The float bowl seems to be made of a different kind of plastic. It's definitely still clear, so that's cool. You can see into it. Another big change here is they put a drain on the float bowl. Thank you, Lectron, for that. That's actually really awesome. So when you want to store the bike, you can just drain the float bowl. That's really cool. They didn't have that before. Probably one of my favorite updates to this is they put the choke on the correct side of the carburetor. So it's on the left side now, so you don't have to reach around your pipe and all that stuff. So that's awesome. I'm really happy about that. Nice job, Lectron. The idle adjust, still same place, a little bit different knob. One of the big changes here, guys, is the power jet adjustment is now here on the side, so you can get to it with a screwdriver easily instead of where it used to be up here. The nozzle still coming in from the top, but one of the other cool differences that I'm really liking is that instead of going down and coming to this part of the float bowl, is kind of weird. I think it actually tied in right down in here. Now it's a tube, comes over to another nice brass fitting, and then a tube inside. Don't worry guys, we're going to take this thing apart and look at it all, so stick with me here. On the outside, that's the biggest differences. Oh, also, thank you Lectron for finally putting in metric Allens. These are metric Allens, I guess that's what they say. We'll try that out here in a second. So that's the big differences from the outside, guys. Let's take this thing apart. So we got a 3mm Allen. Let's start with the float bowl. It is metric, which is nice. I can say too, holding on to it, touching it, having it here in the shop, the whole thing seems definitely higher quality. Not that the Electrons before were bad quality, but they were not like some of the other Japanese stuff, definitely not like the Smart Carb. So now, still got the same idea with the aluminum bracket that goes all the way around the plastic float bowl. It's probably because since it's plastic, it needs a consistent press on it to make it seal. All right, so the inside, same kind of deal with where the quote-unquote main jet would be. I mean, there's no main jet. Where the pickup for the fuel is, it's got a thing down here, but unlike the other ones, it doesn't come out and fall out and leave you wondering which way it went. That's awesome. So there's where the bottom of the metering rod is. Still got an O-ring there, but it stays in place. That's good. Looks like if you needed to, you could take that apart really easily. That's cool. It's got little Allens there. Float is more like a normal needle and seat now. instead of like the old one that's screwed in. I mean, this one looks like it still screws in, which is actually a good design because then you can replace it. But instead of being a single unit, this looks a lot better. Let's see if we can get that out of there. Hang on. All right, so we got our center punch. Just kind of, there we go. So it looks like they're using like a key and float needle, which is a good thing. That looks like an FCR, or even maybe, I don't know, but that looks a very common. I bet I have one of those in stock, so that's awesome. So that seat looks like it actually has flat blade grooves in it, which is cool, so you probably undo that. I'm not going to take that out. There's no reason to do that. But it looks like it's got a gasket, kind of like the other one, like a metal gasket covered in rubber. So that's good design. I like that. Let's get into what makes this thing work. All right, it's got the same kind of top, a little bit nicer quality for sure. Also, I am told and believe that this will accept just basically any throttle cable now. They'll screw right into there. So the throttle cable that came with the Domino or the newer style KTMs, I think it just screws right into that. So that's really cool. Don't have to get a cable and all that stuff. All right, so here is the slide. Big updates here, guys. This is not the old zinc slide, which used to wear out and be a real problematic. One of the things I really didn't like about the Lectrons. It's now aluminum, but it's coated. It almost looks like looks like a hard anodizing, I think. So it's hard to tell for sure. I don't think it's a Cerakote. It looks like a hard anodizing, which would be good. That'll keep it in really good shape for a long time. Still using metering rod, same style metering rod. It does, I think, fit with the tool. Let's see. Yep. The metering rod tool, so if you have an old tool, it works. The one thing I was reading about them, instead of being quarter turn adjustable, now they are 8th turn adjustable. So the way you adjust these is you push, you twist it, and then you have to push in and turn this to reset it. And sure enough, you guys are probably gonna have a really hard time seeing that, but that's an 8th turn instead of just a quarter. So that's pretty cool. I like that. It's interesting, there is no, just like the old ones, there's no way to get in here, but you can't get that out. I'm assuming that if you need a new rod, you just have to unscrew this thing all the way, and that's a pressed in brass piece in there. I think that's pretty cool, guys. There it is, all apart in all its pieces. I think it's gonna be really cool. One thing is it still doesn't have an external adjustment like the Smart Carb does. They do have a kit you can buy that comes with thumb screws that go into the top, so you can just do it with your fingers and undo it and don't need an Allen even. Foxy Bibs did not buy that. Oh, another update, I forgot to tell you guys that, is that this is the short body. So it's short this way. And that is going to allow it to fit on all the KTMs without having to do anything with the intake boot, the reed cage, or any of that stuff. It's not going to cause the air boot to rub on the shock spring and all that like they used to. That's really, really cool. Let me discuss a little bit about part of the reason that, in my opinion, smart carburetors, one thing that doesn't work as well, in my opinion. The one thing that people complain about is that it doesn't have the snap off the bottom. Now that is true. I've run a lot of smart carbs. They usually work really good. You don't have to fiddle with them. You can ride multiple elevations and they work really great. But they just don't have that grunt, like that quick bop off the bottom. It's because there is no pilot circuit, right? So there's no pilot circuit in here on the motor side of the carburetor to provide fuel while the slide's down, that when you lift the slide, there's already gas coming, so the motor can pick up really quickly. They rely on the metering rod coming out of that hole. Let me see if I can. They're relying on gas coming out of that hole where the metering rod comes out and catching up. That's one reason that they're so smooth, is that they don't have that extra fuel coming out. That's also one reason why they get such good gas mileage. But it is, the downside is that they don't develop as much fuel on initial throttle opening. This does have the same kind of setup. It's impossible for you guys to see on the camera here, but this is machined at an angle coming down this way, so this is lower than the backside, the air box side of the carburetor, and that does help it pick up fuel earlier when you twist the throttle. So that does help a lot with that. Should give it more low end grunt than the old Lectrons, but it definitely isn't quite the same as having an actual pilot circuit right here. If you have any questions, make sure you comment below. I'm going to be riding. I ride with Foxy Bibbs all the time, so I'll be riding with him. I'm going to ride his bike. We're going to ride it versus my 300 with the. I'm putting a key in 36 on my 300, so we'll take them out and put them back to back and try them out and see how they do. I think it's pretty good. I'm going to put this thing back together and we'll take a look at it. All right, guys, there it is, the Lectron Billetron. I do really wish Lectron would put the external adjuster, but I think the way they look at it, and I guess I would agree, is that if once you get a smart carb, smarter, whatever, anyway, one of these metering rod carbs set up, you really never have to touch it again. At least you shouldn't. I never did with mine. I just like the way the traditional carburetors carburate better. They really are good, and you really don't have to fiddle with them. So on the smart carb, you know, once you set it, you should never have to fiddle with that top thing. It just does make it easier getting it tuned in the first place. So anyway, hope you guys like that. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be tuning in on this a lot on Foxy Bibbs' bike.